My husband returned from the south after disappearing for several months, bringing a woman with him. Everyone laughed at my husband for falling in love with the top courtesan of the Phoenix Immortal Pavilion. The newly appointed top scholar willingly ruined his own future. What a pity, what a shame. I took care of the courtesan while my husband was away. When my husband gained power and almost held sway over everything, the first thing he did was order someone to drown me in a pond. Demanding that I pay with my life for the one he loved, given a second chance at life, I voluntarily stepped down from my position to make way for the courtesan, push her down, let this venomous woman pay with her life for Xianxia. Locked in a narrow bamboo cage, I gasped for breath, and upon hearing these words, I suddenly understood why I had ended up in such a state. My husband has always resented me for executing his beloved. To avenge her, he even went so far as to harm my family. My father's disciples were spread far and wide, but Xie Jing claimed to have found evidence of my father's treason, leading to the execution of my entire Song family. None of my father's disciples were spared, and they were forbidden from taking the imperial examinations for 10 years. For a time, the Song family was universally condemned. They even went so far as to ruin their own reputation by falsely accusing me of adultery, just to send me to the underworld bearing the most disgraceful accusations to atone for the sake of his beloved. To harm me so deeply over a mere courtesan, truly heartless. Xie Jing, it's laughable that you, like me, cannot see the true face of the one you love. As soon as I opened my mouth, water rushed in, drowning the words I was about to speak. The bamboo cage slowly sank to the bottom, water flooding my nostrils and ears, icy and piercing, yet far less chilling than the coldness in my heart. In the final moment before my consciousness faded, a deep sense of resentment surged within me. Father, mother, it was your daughter who misjudged the man. I leaned dazedly against the soft couch by the window, my body still seemingly carrying a bone-chilling cold. Instinctively, I tightened the fox fur cloak around me. Is the young lady thinking of her husband again? Outside the window, the cold wind howled fiercely, while inside, the charcoal fire crackled and burned. I let out a contented sigh of happiness. Why think of him? In another half-month, my dear husband will return with his beloved. The events of my past life are still vivid in my mind. Perhaps it is because I have been given a second chance at life that I have finally come to see that Xie Jing has always been hypocritical from the very beginning. On the night of our wedding, Xie Jing told me that he had received an imperial decree to head south. The young man in red embraced me, planting a kiss on my forehead and asking me to wait for him. But if he truly loved me, why would he volunteer to go south, leaving his newlywed wife alone to become the laughingstock of the capital? He was merely drawn to my father, my status as the legitimate daughter, and the countless disciples behind the Song family, deliberately approaching and deceiving me. How laughable that I took it seriously, believing the words, "I only seek one heart, to stay together till our hair turns white." The swaying carriage came to a halt, and Luluor lifted the curtain with great delight. "Miss, we've arrived." I also gazed at the inscription on the mansion, my eyes brimming with tears. In my previous life, I insisted on marrying Xie Jing, who was then just a scholar, despite my father's objections. My father said that Xie Jing was too cunning and not a suitable match, but he couldn't withstand my determination to marry him. In the end, he could only sigh and make arrangements for Xie Jing, even taking him as a disciple to personally guide him, pushing him to become the new top scholar, barely making him a match for me. But later, I was virtually imprisoned in the mansion by Xie Jing, who claimed I was unwell, while in reality, I suffered endless torment. I never got to see my parents again until they passed away. Fortunately, now everything is still within reach. Did that brat Xie Jing bully you? As soon as father saw me, he noticed my swollen, red eyes and flew into a rage. Feeling a warmth in my heart, I sniffled and shook my head. "I just missed you and mother." Father, though I knew it was absurd, I still expressed to father my desire to divorce Xie Jing. The daughter was momentarily impulsive, but enduring such a long period of solitude without seeing her parents was truly unbearable. Only then did she realize that her feelings for Xie Jing were merely a fleeting fondness, hardly worthy of being called love. Father's angry expression froze. and he hesitated for a long time before finally saying, "Aren't you just being reckless?" He paced back and forth on the spot, his beard, grown over many years, nearly pulled out from frustration. Forget it, forget it. I'll go to the palace tomorrow to personally apologize to His Majesty. You can settle down at home with peace of mind, and leave the rest to Father. I declined Father's kindness, but now I'm just giving him a heads up so he can be mentally prepared. I lowered my eyes, concealing the overwhelming hatred within them. The grudge with Xie Jing must be settled by me personally. The events unfolded exactly as they had in my previous life, with the capital city being exceptionally lively on this day. I sat upright in the windowside booth, watching Xie Jing surrounded by the crowd. The young man, tall and spirited on his horse, had eyes that seemed to brim with tenderness. From time to time, the young man would turn his head toward the carriage, whispering something with a smile that never left his lips. In my past life, I had loved those eyes the most, unaware that they were also the most fickle. "Miss, why is there another carriage behind young Master Xie?" Luluor was also very curious, craning her neck to look outside. I curled my lips and turned the teacup upside down on the table. "Why not go down and see for yourself?" In my past life, I bore the reputation of a jealous woman for Xie Jing. Now, it's time to return everything to them. The noisy crowd fell silent as I appeared, for everyone knew I had spent my wedding night alone. In my past life, I was still moved by Xie Jing's actions, believing they were all to be worthy of me, completely forgetting that Xie Jing was actually born in Jiangnan. This trip to Jiangnan was merely to rescue his childhood sweetheart who had been sold into a brothel, while also gaining the emperor's favor, killing two birds with one stone. I forcefully halted Xie Jing's procession, ignoring his displeased expression and feigning delight. How could I not welcome my husband upon his return? I tilted my head slightly, and Luluor, understanding my intention, immediately supported me and proclaimed loudly, "The young lady has been waiting for the young master under the scorching sun until now." Without even a sip of water, "Thank you, sir, for caring so much about my lady, especially arranging a carriage so she wouldn't tire." Before Xie Jing could stop him, he took a few quick strides forward and lifted the carriage curtain, only to hear a startled cry from inside. Not only I, but everyone watching could clearly see the scene inside the carriage. The interior was thoughtfully lined with soft fur, furnished with a comfortable couch, along with tea and pastries. On the soft couch reclined an exceptionally beautiful woman, her delicate brows tightly furrowed, her rosy lips slightly parted, her fair, delicate hand gently covered her heart, as if she had suffered quite a fright. This was Xie Jing's childhood sweetheart, Liu Ruyan. Xie Jing had truly become famous. Unlike in my previous life, Xie Jing openly brought Liu Ruyan into the mansion, publicly claiming that the person in the carriage was me. When my father questioned him, he casually explained, "My wife insisted on personally welcoming her, so I hired the carriage." My father believed it to be true, thinking I was deeply in love with Xie Jing, and went all out to help him without reservation. Xie Jing told me he only saw Liu Ruyan as a younger sister, and now that she was in trouble, he couldn't abandon the bond they shared since childhood. "Yunyang, I've wronged you." So even though I was upset, I gritted my teeth and accepted the blame. Xie Jing entered the palace to plead guilty. Because my father was the emperor's study companion and was later invited to serve as the crown prince's first tutor, he also extended his affection to me. He once jokingly suggested arranging a marriage between me and the crown prince. Even when I later insisted on marrying Xie Jing, he did not blame me but instead sent the crown prince to attend the ceremony and support me. Xie Jing dared not offend the emperor, so naturally, he had to go and apologize. Before leaving, he instructed the servants to take good care of Liu Ruyan, and even I was not allowed to see her. Little did he know that his beloved would come to find me on her own. Liu Ruyan knelt before me, her forehead pressed to the ground, her voice earnest. "I beg you, madam, to help me feign death and escape. I do not wish for the young master to ruin his own future." I watched coldly as Liu Ruyan kowtowed repeatedly, her forehead quickly turning red and swollen. If it were my past self, I would have believed her, but even though I kept my mouth shut in my previous life, The news of Xie Jing bringing a courtesan to the capital still leaked out. Xie Jing thought it was me and didn't see me for several months in a row. When Liu Ruyan found me, I easily agreed to help her fake her death. It wasn't until after I died and my soul drifted that I learned the Liangdi who was famously taken into the Eastern Palace by the Crown Prince for saving his life was actually Liu Ruyan. It turned out that Liu Ruyan had been scheming for the Crown Prince all along. From the day Liu Ruyan entered the mansion, she has worn a veil every day, and aside from a few people, no one knows what she looks like, not only me, but even Xie Jing is merely a stepping stone for her, letting Liu Ruyan kowtow. I want to see how she will extricate herself now without my help. Yunyang, don't make a scene. Yang and I grew up together, and now that we're in trouble, I just want to give her a stable place to stay. As soon as Xie Jing returned to the mansion, he rushed to my courtyard upon hearing the news, only to see me bullying the one he loves, the exact same words as in the previous life. If you ignore his extremely nervous expression, Liu Ruyan's forehead was already oozing with traces of blood, looking utterly miserable. She is adept at leveraging her own advantages to manipulate people's hearts. Liu Ruyan leaned against Xie Jing's chest, shaking her head and sobbing softly. Jing, don't blame madam. It's me who wanted to gain madam's recognition so I could stay by your side legitimately. Watching Liu Ruyan's clumsy acting and Xie Jing's unwavering belief in her, I was almost tempted to applaud, too lazy to expose Liu Ruyan. I held a handkerchief to my nose and mouth and said, "Husband, you must be exhausted from your journey. Why not take a bath and freshen up, then sign this divorce agreement?" The clear disdain in my eyes stung Xie Jing. His face flushed crimson as he stubbornly declared, "Yunyang, I will not divorce." My sharp eyes caught a glimpse of Liu Ruyan stiffening, belatedly taking a breath, and then being overwhelmed by a fit of violent coughing. Xie Jing had no time to argue with me and hurriedly left the courtyard with Liu Ruyan. I had the divorce letter delivered by Luluor. Xie Jing thought I was throwing a tantrum, so he ordered someone to prepare my favorite 8-treasure duck and ruyi cake. "Yunyang, stop making a fuss. You are the only one who will ever be my wife." Xie Jing looked at me with such deep affection, but I found it utterly hypocritical. "You are not worthy of me, Xie Jing," I stated the fact. Watching coldly as Xie Jing clenched his fists, his face filled with embarrassment. Compared to the formidable Xie Jing of my past life, the current him is still somewhat immature. All the sweetness of the past was nothing more than sugar-coated bullets aimed at the Song family behind me. Xie Jing was certain that I loved him deeply, thinking that with just a little coaxing, I would eagerly cling to him again. But Xie Jing, I have crawled out of hell to claim your life. Your path to immense wealth and prosperity is coming to an end. I pushed the divorce agreement forward and sincerely wished, may Mr. Xie and Miss Liu have a happy union for 100 years. Xie Jing's face turned extremely unpleasant. "Yunyang, think carefully. Once you leave me, it will be hard for anyone else to marry you." As he thought this, his expression improved considerably, looking quite confident. "I'll have someone prepare dinner later. You apologized to Yang, and I won't pursue this matter any further." I was almost infuriated by Xie Jing's shamelessness. What made him think that I, Song Yunyang, couldn't live without him? Only when all the past affection had faded did I realize with a start that I had been blind all along, just a poor scholar from a humble background. Borrowing my influence actually brought about the ruin of my family. I sneered, no longer bothering to feign a pleasant expression. "Xie Jing, you know, whatever you gained through me, I can also make you lose." As if suddenly drained of strength, Xie Jing stared at me in silence, his eyes instead turning slightly red. "Yunyang, have you forgotten? But seek a heart that's true, together till our hair turns white, never to part." He affectionately recited the vow we made when we pledged our love, wanting to embrace me. Looking at this face I adored so much, what flashed through my mind was his cold, devilish expression when he ordered me to be drowned in the pond. A chill crept up from the soles of my feet, and I couldn't help but take a few steps back. Just before I collapsed to the ground, Luluor firmly supported me. I heard my own trembling voice command, "Luluor, pack our valuables. We're going home, soon." The news of our separation spread throughout the capital. Becoming a popular topic of conversation among the common people, the newly crowned top scholar, for the sake of a courtesan, actually separated from his newlywed wife. Such a promising future was ruined just like that, truly a pity and a lament. But soon, another wave of rumors began to spread. The storyteller's voice in the tea house rose and fell with emotion. It is said that in Jiangnan, there was a deeply devoted woman who was in love with the scholar next door. Their affection as strong as gold. The scholar promised the girl, "Once I pass the imperial examination, I will send matchmakers and betrothal gifts to marry you." Who could have foreseen the unpredictability of fate? The scholar's travel funds were stolen. How can a maiden watch her beloved stop here? "My dear, go with peace of mind, I will provide you with travel expenses." The maiden secretly entered the brothel for the scholar, waiting, hoping. She waited for the newlywed groom to take her to the capital. The storyteller played two roles, each vividly portrayed. Many people soon realized and wondered in whispers, "Isn't this the story of our top scholar?" The tale of this ill-fated couple unexpectedly won the favor of unmarried young women in the capital, and soon, many similar storybooks appeared in various bookstores. When it reached my father's ears, he was so furious that he immediately declared he was cutting ties with Xie Jing. For Xie Jing, what he fears most is poverty, and now losing the support of the Song family is the greatest punishment for him. After parting ways with Xie Jing, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. As all the misfortunes in my past life were because of him, even though I no longer deliberately paid attention to Xie Jing, Lu Luo would always be the first to tell me his news. I heard that Xie Jing intended to marry Liu Ruyan, but was frequently rejected. Amidst the tug-of-war between Xie Jing and Liu Ruyan, I once again found myself seated in that tea house. Quite by coincidence, I lowered my gaze, watching the perfect couple outside the window. The street was bustling with people. And Liu Ruyan looked up at Xie Jing with a smile in her eyes. Xie Jing picked out a plum blossom hairpin and gently tucked it into her hair, his tone tender and full of affection. "It suits you well." He seemed to sense the gaze, and as soon as he looked up, our eyes met. Xie Jing's eyes lit up with surprise. But I calmly averted my gaze. Unexpectedly, he entered the restaurant with Liu Ruyan. "Is Lady Yu afraid of being seen?" The man's jade-like slender fingers lightly tapped on the table. The sound reminiscent of pearls falling onto a plate. "What is there to fear? It is Yuniang's fortune to have even the slightest connection with the crown prince." I made a joke to the man opposite me, who stood as tall and aloof as a pine tree. "Yuniang is not as stubborn as I had imagined. If the crown prince isn't afraid of tarnishing his reputation by meeting a woman like me with such a notorious name, what do I have to fear?" I also didn't hold back, teasing him with a familiar tone. "Having lived 2 lifetimes, only Xiao Yunjin remains forever Xiao Yunjin. In my previous life, when my father was arrested and sentenced, all the officials who had been on good terms with him quickly distanced themselves, avoiding any association. Only Xiao Yunjin, upon learning of this, knelt in the imperial study for a long time despite the emperor's great anger, pleading for mercy on his behalf. For this, he also incurred the emperor's wrath and was confined for a full year. The evidence was conclusive, and the emperor was furious that my father had betrayed his deep trust, sentencing him to death without even a thorough investigation. It would be impossible to say I harbor no resentment, but more than that, I blame myself. If I hadn't been so stubborn, how could things have come to this? Fortunately, it's not too late for everything. If I say I don't mind, would you marry me? Yuniang, Xiao Yunjin's words left me in a daze. And my long silent heart began to beat uncontrollably once again. I knew he would definitely help me. Having grown up following my father, I was practically a companion to the crown prince. When I was mischievous as a child, no matter what trouble I got into, the crown prince would always cover for me. Such a youth, pure as the wind and bright as the moon, it would be impossible to say I never liked him. But when Xie Jing openly pursued me, I nervously sought Xiao Yunjin's opinion. I still remember how much I hoped he would say no, but the young man lowered his eyes and said softly, "As long as Yuniang likes him, that's fine." My girlish heart was instantly doused with cold water. I left the crown prince's residence in a daze and was depressed for a long time. It was Xie Jing who found all sorts of strange little trinkets every day to cheer me up. I simply acted out of spite and grew closer to Xie Jing, going out every day to see the lanterns and boat on the lake. And unexpectedly developed genuine affection for him. On my birthday that day, I waited for a long time in the lakeside pavilion, but Xiao Yunjin never showed up to celebrate with me. What I waited for was Xie Jing, drenched and holding a box of scattered rui cakes, saying to me, "Yuniang, I adore you. All I ask for is a devoted heart, to stay together until our hair turns white." When Xie Jing arrived, the flush on my cheeks had not yet faded, which he interpreted in a completely different way. Liu Ruyan's gaze had been fixed on Xiao Yunjin since she arrived, never once shifting away. Seeing this scene, Xie Jing was utterly disappointed. "So you have long been secretly involved with the crown prince? No wonder you were in such a hurry to divorce." I found it extremely amusing. "Lord Xie, please watch your words. Are you the only one allowed to have a beauty by your side? My relationship with the crown prince is completely innocent." Before she could finish her sentence, Xiao Yunjin cut in, his voice cold. "What do you mean by secretly communicating? I am unmarried, and Yuniang is unmarried as well. It is I who am pursuing Yuniang." Minister Xie, as the newly appointed top scholar, should think carefully before speaking. I blinked, the lingering flush of heat seeming to climb up my cheeks once more. This statement left Xie Jing speechless. Liu Ruyan's eyes darkened as she took a step forward, her voice so soft it could wring out water. "Please don't blame him. Young master, our Jing was just momentarily carried away. A noble person like you should not stoop to the level of a petty man." As she spoke, she slightly lifted her chin and gently brushed the hair by her cheek, revealing her most beautiful side as if she had practiced it countless times before. Xie Jing didn't notice Liu Ruyan's little scheme and was greatly moved. Xiao Yunjin, however, was not taken in by this act. His gaze never once fell on Liu Ruyan. "Just a cheap trick." He waved his hand, and the attendant beside him immediately understood, stepping forward to shoo her away. A full 3 days had passed since our last conversation. It was rather amusing, after losing the support of the Song family. Xie Jing encountered repeated setbacks both in his official career and in matters of the heart. Encouraged by Liu Ruyan, he shamelessly came to the mansion day after day, hoping to win my forgiveness. I heard that without the backing of the Song family, no matter what proposals he put forward, there would always be someone to oppose them. Some people even secretly set traps for him, whether it was stepping in dog poop one day or having his horse suffer from diarrhea the next. By the time he arrived at the main hall in a disheveled state, he was stopped by a eunuch at the door. The eunuch squinted his eyes and spoke in a shrill voice. "If you offend His Majesty with your foul odor, Lord Xie, even 10,000 heads wouldn't be enough to atone for it." After repeatedly hitting a wall, Xie Jing finally realized the depth of his regret, but father had already instructed the servants that Xie Jing and dogs were not allowed to enter. "Miss, the crown prince has arrived." Since that day when he made his intentions clear, Xiao Yunjin has been acting without restraint, openly targeting Xie Jing. The newly appointed top scholar in the imperial examinations was suppressed in court as if he were invisible. My father's prepared impeachment memorial didn't even have a chance to be submitted, leaving him at a loss for words with me. I sighed helplessly, looking at Xiao Yunjin, truly unsure of what this person meant. Rumors are spreading everywhere outside. Does he really not care at all? I've been married once before. I don't mind, but I'm scared. I'm truly afraid that like in my past life, my sincere feelings will be trampled underfoot and ground into dust. Xiao Yunjin fell silent. He probably intends to give up. I lowered my head, feeling a sense of relief wash over me, yet an uncontrollable wave of disappointment followed. Unexpectedly, a weight settled on my head. And then my hair was gently tousled. "Lady you can trust me." Xiao Yunjin's voice was calm, yet it carried a certain magic, as if whatever he said, I would believe. In my past life, Xiao Yunjin was the only one who, even while confined, risked punishment to erect graves for all 362 members of my Song family. It is important to know that the Yun noble consort in the palace is already 8 months pregnant, and the emperor is in his prime, if it is a prince. It could very well threaten Xiao Yunjin's position as the crown prince. Fortunately, after the emperor found out, he simply turned a blind eye. I have no reason to refuse such a Xiao Yunjin. Uncle Emperor would not agree. I will handle it. I was completely at a loss for words. So I simply widened my eyes and waved my hand in resignation. Admitting defeat, I couldn't argue anymore. A faint smile finally appeared in Xiao Yunjin's eyes as he solemnly told me, Yunyang, I will not let you suffer any grievances. But suddenly, I felt an overwhelming sense of grievance. Even in my previous life, when I was slandered and thrown into a pond, I gritted my teeth and endured it. Yet now, such gentle words have brought tears to my eyes. Why did you push me away back then? The news that the crown prince angered the emperor to marry me has spread. I heard that the emperor was so furious that he threw a cup of scalding tea at the crown prince, who neither dodged nor flinched, bearing the emperor's wrath. The crown prince has angered the emperor again. The storyteller took a sip of water and slapped the gavel. Let's see if the crown prince, after being released from confinement for the 13th time, can successfully propose to the eldest daughter of the Song family. The crown prince fought with increasing courage, and Xie Jing felt a sense of crisis, guarding outside the mansion day after day. Upon learning of this, father was speechless for a long while. Stroking his beard, he seemed rather helpless. Forget it, forget it. At worst, I, an old man, will personally apologize to His Majesty. As he spoke, he sighed again, unwilling to give up, and pushed a stack of handsome men's portraits toward me. Daddy has found many excellent young men's portraits for you. Sweetheart, why not take another look to see if any catch your eye? I know that the palace walls are deep, and I love freedom the most. Daddy is afraid I will suffer grievances and doesn't want me to lose myself in the scheming and intrigue, but I'm willing to believe once more, because he is Xiao Yunjin. The imperial edict arrived soon after. On the day I entered the palace to meet the emperor, my father was even more nervous than I was. He prepared several sets of dresses for me, which made my mother chide him in annoyance. It really fits that old saying, a daughter is a little lover from a past life. Look how nervous you are. Inside the imperial study, it was just me and the emperor uncle. This middle-aged man, now past 50, still possessed an awe-inspiring dignity. Come with me for a walk in the imperial garden. The imperial garden is ablaze with color, yet it carries an almost suffocating sense of loneliness and desolation. The palace maids along the path are as silent as cicadas in winter, and everywhere exudes solemnity and gravity. I followed a step behind, hearing only the frantic pounding of my own heart. Finally, a voice came from ahead. The crown prince says he will marry no one but you, even if it means giving up his position as my heir. The daughter of a minor tutor actually possesses such capability. The voice betrayed no emotion, and I knelt on the ground with a thud, not daring to move. Your Majesty, please forgive me. The crown prince is young and impulsive. His words should not be taken seriously. There was no response. I could only stare respectfully at the ground. Not daring to move, having experienced the heartless betrayal in my past life, I am well aware of the cold indifference of the royal family and dare not presume upon my father's favor. After a long while, until my legs began to stiffen and ache, I finally heard a faint, drawn-out sigh. The crown prince resembles his mother very much. Perhaps it was because of the overwhelming loneliness with no one to confide in that I learned of a long-buried story. The beloved daughter of the prime minister and the prince born of a palace maid unexpectedly fell in love. The legitimate daughter defied all opposition to marry the prince, and with the support of the prime minister, the prince successfully ascended to the throne, stepping over countless lives. The legitimate daughter believed she could spend her life with her beloved, but she forgot that power breeds greed. To secure his throne, the prince successively married the daughters of influential court officials, and even secretly stripped the prime minister of his power behind his wife's back, eliminating him on false charges. There are no secrets that can be kept forever. Upon learning the truth, the legitimate daughter grew to hate the prince intensely. Her attempt to assassinate him failed, and she was imprisoned in her own palace. The prince believed that time would smooth everything over. Finally, on a snowy day, the deranged legitimate daughter set fire to the palace in an attempt to take her own life along with the child. The child survived and became the current crown prince. After losing his beloved, the prince was overwhelmed with grief. Little did he know that the only kindness the legitimate daughter ever showed him was feeding him a sterilizing drug before she resolved to die. Nowadays, the imperial concubines in the harem try every means to nourish their bodies. Unaware that entering the palace marks the beginning of despair, I listened to the entire story in silence, feeling a mix of emotions. Thinking of Consort Yoon, who is now newly pregnant, I couldn't help but feel a chill down my spine. The beginning of spring in March is a good day. It's best to marry the crown prince as soon as possible. While you're still young, take more walks outside with the crown prince. The middle-aged emperor wearily waved his hand, and the eunuch, quick to understand, led me away. With less than 7 months left until the start of spring, the household became completely busy. I heard that on the day I entered the palace, Xie Jing also went along. Unexpectedly, he was turned away at the door. The emperor, having heard about his affairs with Liu Ruyan, directly arranged for Liu Ruyan to be taken into the household as a concubine, which could be considered a good match. Xie Jing became the laughingstock of the capital, the newly crowned top scholar. For the sake of a mere courtesan, forced his original wife to request a divorce. None of the scholars who passed the imperial examination alongside Xie Jing were willing to befriend him. It could be said that he held the title of top scholar in name only, with no real use. On an unnoticed evening, Liu Ruyan was carried into the imperial bestowed top scholar's residence in a small sedan chair. "Miss, everything has been taken care of." The woman in green respectfully knelt before me. "Were you not discovered? The secret guard I requested from Xiao Yunjin indeed possesses some martial skills." I saw a hint of embarrassment on the woman in green's face. After a few seconds of silence, she shook her head truthfully. No one noticed anything, perhaps infected by her. I too began to feel a flicker of restlessness. Having lived 2 lifetimes, I had never experienced that aspect of life, only knowing that a woman's purity was of utmost importance. The reason I could not let Liu Ruyan go was because she was also one of the true culprits behind the destruction of my family in my previous life. The so-called story of her ending up in the world of pleasure for the sake of her childhood sweetheart was actually a lie. Liu Ruyan's biological mother was the madam of the Phoenix Pavilion. When she unexpectedly became pregnant in her youth, she left the child at the doorstep of a newlywed couple who had no children. Hoping to spare the child from bearing the stigma of her profession, thus, she became Xie Jing's childhood sweetheart. Liu Ruyan was exceptionally clever from a young age, and Xie Jing was the most promising young man in the area, so she naturally made every effort to hold on to him. She orchestrated a story about her travel funds being stolen and selling herself for love, never expecting that this would lead her to unexpectedly find her biological mother. Isn't Xie Jing most fond of Liu Ruyan's purity and integrity? If he believes that his beloved's lips have been tasted by thousands and her jade-like arms have been embraced by countless others, can he still love her? I don't have time to pay attention to how Xie Jing reacts, because ever since that layer of window paper was pierced, Xiao Yunjin has revealed his clingy nature. Today he invites me to cruise the lake, tomorrow he takes me to admire the flowers, walking along the lakeside. Admiring the various flowers, he told me the meaning and name of each one. Our eyes occasionally met, and I turned my face away from the heat, not wanting to be at a disadvantage. A flower with a faint fragrance was pinned into my hair bun, and Xiao Yunjin sincerely planted a kiss. It was a small daisy. Flower language, love hidden in the heart. By the time the beginning of spring arrived, the gossip about us had gradually faded, replaced by the envy of countless young women. A dowry stretching for miles, with gongs and drums resounding through the sky, the red bridal veil fluttered gently, occasionally brushing against the surface of the Rui fan, mounting the saddle, scattering the wedding bed, and performing the wedding ceremony. Red gauze and soft curtains filled my vision with crimson, and I blushed as deeply as a ripe shrimp. 2 months after the wedding, the Crown Prince received an imperial decree to create landscape paintings of various regions. In consideration of their newlywed bliss, the Crown Princess was specially permitted to accompany him. On the day I left the capital, I saw Xie Jing silently watching from the edge of the crowd. He looked much more weathered. The frustration and lack of fulfillment in the court had dealt him a heavy blow, and his meager salary couldn't satisfy Liu Ruyan's desires at all. According to Luluo, Liu Ruyan and Xie Jing started a cold war on the second night after their wedding. Right after she entered the mansion, the once upright and principled top scholar now spent his days lingering in the pleasure quarters, and Liu Ruyan had gone to make a scene more than 10 times, to say that Xie Jing was initially just in a bad mood and wanted to relax, but under Liu Ruyan's unreasonable pestering, he became truly angry and simply decided not to return home at all, seeing that she couldn't win Xie Jing back. Liu Ruyan actually packed her belongings and secretly returned to Jiangnan. Xie Jing's already impoverished life became even more difficult. It is said that after he found his way to Jiangnan, he unexpectedly discovered Liu Ruyan and the brothel madam acting intimately, like mother and daughter, and only then did he learn the truth. He was so angry that he sued Liu Ruyan in court. Who would have thought that the upright official was the madam's old flame from her youth? And he was more than happy to do her a favor by directly expelling Xie Jing from Jiangnan. Xie Jing returned to the capital penniless, only to be penalized with a year's salary deduction for taking consecutive days off. Now, he barely manages to make ends meet with the support of his parents. "Darling, what are you looking at?" Seeing me so absorbed, my fingers were gently pinched. I averted my gaze and leaned lightly against Xiao Yunjin's shoulder. "It's nothing, just an insignificant passerby. The grudges of the past life are settled. It's time for me to look forward." After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I have been a widow for 30 years, only to discover that my husband, who was said to have died in battle, never actually perished. Instead, he became a traitor and a devoted follower of the enemy kingdom's princess. He returned with her after eloping, living off my provisions while he and the princess enjoyed a harmonious life together, raising a large family. The entire Liu family knew the truth, keeping it hidden from me alone. One day, I was reborn back to the year I first became a widow. My mother-in-law accused me to my face, saying my birth chart was too harsh and that I was destined to bring misfortune and shorten my husband's life. I raised my hand and threw the divorce letter right into my mother-in-law's face. Then, with my pockets stuffed full of silver notes, I stopped the young scholar from my past life who had sworn never to marry for my sake. "Sir, I have money, and you have looks. How about we make do with each other? My name is Ji Nani, the legitimate daughter of the Minister of Works. My maternal grandfather's family is the wealthiest in Jiangnan, prosperous and well-established, with a long tradition of scholarly heritage. From a young age, I was betrothed to Lu Jinan, the eldest son of the Marquis of Dingyuan's household. Yet, I found myself deeply in love with Xiao Juanhui, a poor scholar who made a living by selling paintings, and we secretly pledged our lives to each other. I was determined to break off the engagement with the Liu family and spend the rest of my life with the scholar, even if it meant living in poverty and hardship. Unexpectedly, the border was in crisis, and Lu Jinan was sent by the emperor to fight in the war, only to die on the battlefield, leaving not even a trace of his remains. The matriarch of the Liu family petitioned the current emperor for an imperial decree, demanding that I marry into the Liu family to become a widow for Lu Jinan. If I refused, it would be a crime of deceiving the emperor. For the sake of the entire Ji family, I had no choice but to carry Lu Jinan's memorial tablet and marry into the Liu family, becoming a widow. By then, the Dingyuan Marquis estate had already exhausted its wealth, leaving behind only an empty shell. On the second day after entering the door, my mother-in-law handed over the authority of managing the household to me. For 30 years, I have exhausted my mind and drained my dowry to sustain the livelihood of such a large family. Having lived most of my life without children, I have accumulated a body of illnesses. On my deathbed, I discovered that Lu Jinan was still alive, and he had already married, had children, and was surrounded by a full house of descendants. My husband's family had known about it since the year I married into their household. They kept it from me my entire life, all for the sake of using my dowry to support their family, with every member feeding off me like parasites. In a state of shock and fury, I coughed up blood and died. After my death, my restless spirit lingered, and I discovered that the young man I had secretly pledged my life to back then was now white-haired. Now, he is the Prime Minister, second only to the Emperor, yet he never married in his lifetime. On the day of my funeral, he kicked open the door of the Marquis's mansion, picked up my memorial tablet, and said to me, "Yeah, let's go home." Once reborn, I returned to the year I first became a widow. Looking at the debt collectors suddenly swarming in through the door, I couldn't help but laugh. In the main hall of the Marquis's mansion, a heavy axe was deeply embedded in the old sandalwood tea table. "Young Master Lu, today is the final deadline. If you don't repay the money, don't blame us, the Axe Gang, for being ruthless." My heart trembled as I looked at the sharp axe, that was high-quality old sandalwood, a single table costing dozens of taels. Such wastefulness is bound to incur divine retribution. The leader of the Axe Gang issued a warning, and the hall instantly fell silent, so quiet you could hear a pin drop. My mother-in-law, Mrs. Chen, who always protects her son, had already turned pale with fear from the aggressive debt collectors. Sister-in-law Lu Jinling was so frightened that she hid aside, trembling, her eyes already red. "This is the Dingyuan Marquis's residence. Don't push us too far. Trespassing on private property is a serious crime." Chen Shu, after all, was a woman who had weathered storms. It didn't take long for her to regain her composure. "Trespassing on private property, old man. Your youngest son Lu Jinyang owes us gambling debts. He promised to repay the principal and interest within a month, but it's already been 2 months now, and we haven't heard a word from him." The leader of the Axe Gang pulled out an IOU from his pocket, which clearly stated that Lu Jinyang owed 3,000 taels of silver, with his own signature stamped in red mud. "Mother, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so stubborn. I shouldn't have gambled. Please help me this time. Help me repay this debt. And I promise I'll never gamble again." I almost laughed out loud at the pitiful sight of Lu Jinyang. In my previous life, I paid off Lu Jinyang's gambling debts, which required me to sell several properties just to gather the money. I thought he would turn over a new leaf, but he remained stubborn and even gambled more recklessly. A habitual gambler has no bottom line, and every word out of their mouth is a lie. The entire Marquis's estate combined doesn't have that much money. Chen was so angry that her hands trembled, and she couldn't even speak clearly. "If you don't have the money, then we'll have to ask the young master to come with us. We'll release him when the money is gathered. If you really can't gather it, then we'll have to trouble the young master to leave his fingers behind." The gang leader directly pulled out the axe from the table and gestured toward Lu Jinyang's fingers. Chen's face turned pale with anxiety, but Lu Jinyang suddenly tugged at her sleeve, frantically signaling to her with his eyes and gesturing with his chin in my direction. I understood his meaning. The Marquis's household had no money, but I did. Although my father was merely a minister with clean hands and empty sleeves, my uncle was the wealthiest man in the capital. Forced to marry into the Marquis's household and live as a widow, my uncle, to ensure I wouldn't suffer a miserable life, sent me an enviable dowry. Now, the Chen mother and son have set their sights on my dowry. "Nani, if we sell those shops your uncle sent, that's my dowry. Surely you don't expect me to sell my own dowry to help my brother-in-law pay off his debts?" What a joke. In my previous life, I was manipulated by the entire Marquis household, acting as their fool for decades, using my dowry to support them, only to end up childless and riddled with illness, and this whole family is lying on me, sucking my blood, watching me exhaust myself for the Marquis's household, recklessly squandering my provisions without a thought for my hard work. If I spend even a single penny on them again in this lifetime, I'll consider myself a fool. "Nani, since you've already married into the Lu family, why make a distinction between yours and mine? We're just asking for a few of your shops. What's the big deal? He's your brother-in-law, your husband's own brother. This is the first time I've seen someone act as a robber with such righteous indignation." Mother-in-law, according to the laws of our dynasty, a bride's dowry is considered private property. It is brought into the household upon marriage and taken away in the event of separation. If the bride passes away, it is inherited by her own daughter. To claim that my dowry belongs to the Liu family is to show contempt for the law and disregard for imperial authority. My father used to constantly remind me to exercise self-restraint, uphold propriety, and after marriage, to be filial to my in-laws, respect the elderly, and care for the young. But now it's clear that they're already bullying me right to my face. If I tolerate this, how could I ever face the love my family has shown me? Mrs. Chen probably didn't expect me to use the law against her, and for a moment, she stammered, unable to speak. Seeing this, the leader of the Axe Gang immediately ordered his men to take Liu Jinyang away. If you can't raise the money within 3 days, just wait to receive his fingers. Chen was so anxious she was spinning in circles, yet she had no solution. After all, when I entered the Marquis's household, it was already just an empty shell. With Chen's connections, who only knew how to gossip and crack melon seeds in their spare time, there was simply no way to gather that much money. 2 days later, Chen pushed open the gate to my courtyard once more. She stood with her hands on her hips, as if suppressing a great deal of anger. Nani, I truly can't come up with that much money. How about you take out a little to help us get through this difficult time? Consider it as the Liu family borrowing from you. Her eyes, filled with fine wrinkles, brimmed with calculation, yet she feigned a look of resignation and compromise. I couldn't even be bothered to look at her. I took 2 sheets of letter paper from the desk and directly wrote a letter of divorce and an IOU. If you want me to save him, the Liu family must sign an IOU with me, repaying the principal and interest in full within a year. If they fail to repay, I will take the IOU directly to the magistrate's office. Furthermore, I want to divorce my husband. From now on, I will sever all ties with your Liu family, and we will have nothing to do with each other. Chen's eyes widened as she stared at the number on the IOU, her face turning green with shock. Gee Nani, why don't you just go rob someone? 3,000 taels of silver, and you want 1,000 taels in interest per year. Besides, in this world, it has always been men who divorce their wives. Since when is there such a thing as a woman divorcing her husband? Don't push me too far. I see you just don't want to lend it. You don't want to save my son at all. I took back the divorce letter and the IOU, smiling at Mrs. Chen as I said, oh dear. You guessed it, I just don't want to save him. Liu Jinyang is addicted to gambling. As his mother, not only have you failed to discipline him, but you have also covered up for him everywhere. This time, he should taste the bitter fruit of his own actions. Liu Jinyang is not only addicted to gambling, but he also has a wicked heart. In my previous life, I used my own dowry to help him pay off his gambling debts time and time again. When I realized the severity of the situation and refused to help him repay his debts any longer, Liu Jinyang actually hired someone to kidnap me, intending to sell me to the gambling den owner to settle his debts. Fortunately, at the critical moment, I was found by my uncle's people. Although I was frightened, I ultimately did not fall into the worst possible situation. I thought that no matter how much the Chen family doted on Liu Jinyang, they wouldn't favor their youngest son in this matter. Unexpectedly, she just lightly reprimanded Liu Jinyang a few times and let it go. She told me that Liu Jinyang was still young and had acted foolishly in a moment of confusion, so as the elder sister-in-law, I shouldn't hold it against him. At that time, Liu Jinyang was already 35 years old. Hearing Mrs. Chen's words, I questioned her for the first time. After all these years of hard work for the Marquis's household, I can't even earn a shred of gratitude from you. Shouldn't Liu Jinyang face the punishment he deserves for such behavior? Mrs. Chen slammed her hand on the table, as if I were the one who had done something wrong. Nanyi, since you married into the Marquis's household, you are part of it. Even giving your life for the household is your duty. How can you have the nerve to claim credit with me? Moreover, if it weren't for your inauspicious birth chart, which brings misfortune and shortens lives, how could the Marquis's household have fallen to this state? I haven't even blamed you for bringing misfortune to my son before you were even married, and that's already me showing you leniency. It was only then that I finally realized that the entire Marquis's household had never truly valued my contributions. They simply took my efforts for granted. Even animals develop feelings after spending time together, but the Marquis's family are living vampires, drinking my blood, gnawing at my flesh. and demanding my absolute obedience. I was so enraged that I vomited blood. Years of hard labor had already left my body depleted, and after that episode of vomiting blood, I fell seriously ill and could not get up. Naturally, being ill made it impossible for me to handle so many household chores. I thought I could use this opportunity to rest and recover, but to my surprise, Madam Chen came to my room every other day to scold me. It's just a minor illness, isn't it? Why are you pretending to be so sick? When I was young, I wasn't as delicate as you are now. In the end, I was forced to drag my sick body to handle household chores, and my health deteriorated day by day. The maid Xiaolian felt sorry for me and found an old Chinese doctor for me. She brewed the herbal medicine and made sure I drank it. Thanks to Xiaolian, my health improved slightly. But at that very moment, I unexpectedly discovered that my husband, who should have died in battle, was actually alive. He had deserted, and after betraying our country, he had become involved with Princess Qinglan of the enemy nation. Lu Jinan eloped with Princess Qinglan and secretly returned to the capital, living in another estate less than 50 miles from the Marquis's residence. What's laughable is that the money to buy that estate was taken from me by Chen Shi. For decades, all the food, clothing, and daily expenses of Lu Jinan and Princess Qinglan were paid for by Chen Shi from the Marquis's household accounts, and the money in the Marquis's household was earned by me, penny by penny. Through hard work from dawn till dusk, he took my provisions, lived in harmony with the princess, and had a house full of children and grandchildren. The people of the Marquis's estate had known about Lu Jinan's defection since the year I entered the estate, but they kept it hidden in order to make me stay and earn money to support the estate. Unable to bear the shock, I was both startled and enraged, and I vomited blood and died. Xiaolian fled, wanting to inform my uncle about this matter so that he could avenge me, but unexpectedly, she was discovered by Lu Jinyang during her escape, and he locked her up. Xiaolian was ultimately tortured to death by Lu Jinyang. Her body was covered in wounds, all her fingernails were pulled out, her tongue was cut off, her intestines were ruptured, and she died with her eyes wide open. Given a second chance at life, how could I not seek revenge for myself and for Xiaolian? Am I, as your mother-in-law, no longer able to order you around? Is this how the Ji family teaches their daughter? Tomorrow I will definitely go to the Ji family to demand an explanation. Madam Chen was so angry she could barely catch her breath. Before she could finish speaking, she fainted, suppressing the satisfaction in my heart. I quickly called for help. Oh dear, the old lady has fainted. Hurry, someone come and carry her back, and fetch a doctor to examine her. Chen didn't make it to the Ji family the next day, because the axe gang sent over a severed finger of Lu Jinyang early in the morning. She took one look at the finger of her precious darling, rolled her eyes, and fainted again. I comforted her. Mother-in-law, your son is the only male heir of the Lu family. For the sake of the Lu family's future, please just sign the divorce agreement. Chen lay on the hospital bed, cursing harshly. Ji Nani, you will never leave the gates of my Lu family in this lifetime. I curled my lip. What? Mother-in-law doesn't want to save your son? Fine then. I turned and walked away with a carefree air. On the 5th day after being taken away, Lu Jinyang was released, but he didn't come back standing. He was carried back lying down. All the fingers on his left hand had been chopped off, the nails on his right hand had been pulled out, and his left leg had been severed. From then on, he could only spend his days in bed. Seeing Lu Jinyang covered in blood, Mrs. Chen cried her heart out. She grabbed a broom and swung it at me. You jinx, it's all because of you. If it weren't for you, how could my son have ended up like this? I stood there watching Mrs. Chen holding the broom high, without a trace of fear. If that broom were to come down, I would have a reason to report it to the authorities. A mother-in-law beating her daughter-in-law if word got out. The reputation of the Marquis's household would be ruined, but I didn't wait for Mrs. Chen's broom to fall, because her action was stopped by my sister-in-law, Lu Jinling. Mother, don't hit sister-in-law. Ha, another one putting on a show. Mother, this matter was originally my elder brother's fault. You can't blame my sister-in-law. Lu Jinling pulled Chen aside, not forgetting to give her a meaningful look, watching the two of them exchange glances right under my nose. I felt a bit like laughing. Do these people all think I'm blind? Sister-in-law, don't take it to heart. Mother is just worried about second brother and got a bit carried away. Give her a couple of days to calm down. This whole thing is second brother's own fault, not yours. You don't need to blame yourself. I'm dying of laughter, which eye of hers saw me blaming myself. I'm clearly very happy right now. As soon as Lu Jinling finished speaking, Lu Jinyang's furious voice came from the room. Lu Jinling, you traitorous wretch. This woman refused to help when someone was in danger, and you're still speaking up for her. Ji Nani, you venomous woman, may you die a horrible death. I ignored the siblings' self-directed drama, rolled my eyes, and, taking Xiao Lian's hand, went straight back to my room. If they don't let me leave the estate this time, there will be another chance. I, the young lady, have nothing to lose and fear nothing. The Chen family will eventually have to let me go willingly. Lu Jinling had just spoken well of me during the day, and by night she was already clinging to me. She held a bowl of rose-hip sugar water and personally offered it to me, her face beaming with a flattering smile. Sister-in-law, on the day you entered the family, I saw a particularly beautiful kingfisher feather hairpin among your dowry. I wonder if you could lend it to me to wear. Ha, is she here to collect interest? I felt a chill in my heart as I looked at the prickly pear syrup on the table. Prickly pear syrup was Lu Jinling's favorite thing, but I detested it to the extreme, because the preparation of prickly pears is very tedious. They must be soaked in salt water for a day and a night. Then the tiny thorns on the prickly pears must be picked off with small tweezers, and finally, they must be simmered over low heat for 3 hours. In my previous life, whenever Lu Jinling wanted to eat it, Mrs. Chen would make me pick the thorns off the prickly pears, saying that the servants didn't do it cleanly enough and that I had to do it myself. In the dead of winter, I crouched in the biting wind, my hands soaked in icy saltwater as I picked out thorns, my fingers bleeding profusely from the pricks, yet in the end, they devoured the entire pot of rose-hip syrup, not leaving a single drop for me. What was most infuriating was that Lu Jinling demanded it every few days. Once, my hands were in such excruciating pain that I refused, saying I no longer wanted to pick thorns. That very night, I was punished by Madame Chen, forced to kneel in the ancestral hall for disrespecting my mother-in-law and showing no compassion for my younger sister. Little did I know, the tables would turn. I looked at the sugar water in front of me with disdain, frowning and saying, Sister-in-law, you didn't clean the prickly pears properly. I don't like it. If you can personally cook a bowl of sugar water with properly cleaned prickly pears, I might consider giving you this emerald hairpin. Lu Jinling harbored resentment in her heart but dared not show it on her face. I knew she would definitely agree, because she borrowed my kingfisher hairpin to attend the 100 Flowers banquet a few days later. That kingfisher hairpin is a keepsake left to me by my mother. Given to her by my grandmother just before she stepped into the bridal sedan chair. My grandmother was once a close friend of the late Empress Dowager, and that hairpin was a token of their friendship. I heard that the hairpin is priceless, but more importantly, it can protect my life in critical moments, as it is, after all, a gift from the Empress Dowager. Before my mother passed away, she repeatedly urged me to keep that hairpin safe. In my previous life, Lu Jinling dazzled at the 100 Flowers banquet with my kingfisher feather hairpin, which later caught the attention of the crown prince. Later, through her own schemes, she became pregnant before marriage, coaxed many dowry items from me, and smoothly became the crown princess. However, after she became the crown princess, that hairpin was never returned to me. Later I found out that she actually told others it was her thing. By then, the Empress Dowager and my grandmother had already passed away, and few people knew this secret. Lu Jinling lied without any psychological burden in front of the crown prince and the noble ladies. As a widow who had lost her husband before even entering the door, I had no chance to attend such banquets. And naturally, I couldn't let those people know the truth. Lu Jinling was very reluctant, but she obediently took that bowl of sugar water back. The next day, she brought another bowl of rosehip syrup, and this time the rosehips were much cleaner than the previous night. I picked up the bowl of syrup and poured it directly into the dog's dish. Sister-in-law, didn't I say that I want the syrup you personally picked and cooked yourself? Sister-in-law, I picked these myself. Lu Jinling looked at me, explaining with her words, but clearly lacking confidence. Last night, I had Xiao Lian go to the kitchen to check. These sea buckthorns were clearly picked by the maid serving Lu Jinling. I grabbed Lu Jinling's hand and displayed her delicate fingers for everyone to see. Sister-in-law, lying is not a good thing. If you really picked the thorns yourself, how could your hands be completely unscathed, caught in her lie? Lu Jinling was both embarrassed and furious. Sister-in-law, it's the dead of winter, and thorns are so hard to handle. Aren't you just making things difficult for me? So she knew it was difficult after all. Before I was married, I was the eldest daughter of a minister's family, but since marrying into the Lu family, I have been reduced to picking thorns for my sister-in-law, suffering this torment every few days. Did she ever consider my difficulties back then? I sneered and let go of her hand. To be honest, I am making things difficult for you. You need my help, yet you show so little sincerity. Why should I lend you my dowry just for you to show off? Lu Jinling looked at me with eyes full of hatred, as if she could devour me, but she wanted that hairpin too much. Gritting her teeth, she obediently went to pick the prickly pears. However, she was, after all, a young lady of noble birth who had never set foot in the kitchen. The prickly pears ended up burnt in one pot after another. It was already 3 days later when she came to me with that bowl of sweet soup she had personally cooked, which was still barely edible. The evening sunlight streamed into the courtyard, spilling over that plump, round bowl of rose-hip sweet soup, making it look exceptionally beautiful. Sister-in-law, the sweet soup is ready. Now, can you lend me that kingfisher feather hairpin? Holding that bowl of sweet soup, she had been busy for 3 days, and her whole person looked quite haggard. She's in a hurry, but I'm not. I slowly scooped up a prickly pear, placing it in my mouth to chew slowly and savor. Indeed, the prickly pear that others have worked so hard to prepare is truly delicious. After finishing, I dabbed the corner of my mouth with a handkerchief and said to Xiaolian, "Xiaolian, go and fetch the turquoise hairpin from my room." Upon hearing this, Lu Jinling rubbed her scarred hands and breathed a sigh of relief. But the moment she saw the kingfisher hairpin, she froze. Sister-in-law, I'm not talking about this one. I mean the family heirloom kingfisher hairpin, the one worth a fortune. I leisurely told her, the hairpin you mentioned has been buried with my mother. Such a precious item should naturally accompany her. Upon hearing my words, Lu Jinling was stunned. After a long pause, her eyes turned red, and with a wave of her hand, she swept the bowls and chopsticks off the table. Shattering the porcelain into pieces all over the floor, she angrily exclaimed, "I clearly saw you take it out not long ago. Don't you dare lie to me, Ji Nani. Ever since you married into our Lu family, every single thing you own belongs to the Lu family. I'm only borrowing your hairpin, yet you keep making excuses and delaying, and here I was, speaking up for you in front of mother. I'm really going to die laughing, so, I should thank you for that." Not getting what she wanted, she wasn't even willing to call me sister-in-law anymore. I glanced at the dishes she had broken on the floor and smiled. It was indeed there a few days ago. But recently my mother has been appearing in my dreams, saying she wants to see that hairpin, so I had someone take it out and bury it. You, Lu Jinling glared at me, as if she were about to faint from anger. After a long while, she finally stormed off. Not long after, a servant came to report that she had quietly left the house with a few attendants. "Miss, your calculation is spot on. How did you know she would go dig up the grave?" Xiao Lian hid behind the back door and gave me a thumbs up. How could I not know? In my previous life, I was entangled with the Lu family for decades. With just one glance from Lu Jinling, I knew exactly what little scheme she was plotting in her heart. In the evening, I deliberately had someone spread a false rumor, and Lu Jinling indeed took her people out. She intended to dig up the grave and retrieve the kingfisher hairpin. Wanting the belongings of the dead is truly a bit insane. An hour later, I saw her at the entrance of the yamen. Her clothes were disheveled, and her face was covered in dust as she was escorted back by the yamen officers, charged with tomb robbery. The location of the grave I had spread was naturally fake. I had arrived at the yamen early, intending to accuse Lu Jinling of the crime of grave excavation. I never expected that the grave I had spread the word about happened to have someone paying respects that very night. Lu Jinling, along with the Lu family servants, were all brought back under arrest. However, I never imagined that the grave actually belonged to Xiao Juanhuai's family. At this time, Xiao Juanhui was still just a poor scholar, wearing the familiar blue robe I remembered, but I knew that in just a few years, he would pass the imperial examination with the highest honors, rise rapidly in the court, and reach the pinnacle of officialdom. Lu Jinling dug up the grave of Xiao Juanhuai's uncle, so Xiao Juanhui directly reported her to the authorities. In our dynasty, grave desecration is a serious crime. Xiao Juanhui actually did me a favor, saving me the trouble of taking action myself. Ji Nani, it was you who framed me, wasn't it? I clearly intended to dig up your mother's grave, so how did it end up being someone else's? Lu Jinling rushed towards me like a madwoman in front of the government office. I quickly stepped back to avoid her. How terrifying! It seemed like she wanted to tear me apart, but before she could reach me, she was stopped by the bailiffs and pinned to the ground, looking utterly disheveled, with none of the dignity befitting a noble daughter of a marquis's household. Your Honor, I am wronged. I wasn't trying to dig up the Xiao family's grave, I was trying to dig up the grave of that wretched Ji Nani's mother. Lu Jinling was truly foolish. Clutching the county magistrate's official robe and weeping uncontrollably, the magistrate's eye twitched noticeably. I've seen people without brains, but never someone so brainless. Miss Lu, regardless of whose grave it is, digging it up is illegal. You're practically confessing to a crime. It's clear that the county magistrate wanted to help her. After all, Lu Jinling is the eldest daughter of the Dingyuan Marquis's household, but Lu Jinling brought this on herself. And even if someone wanted to help, they were powerless to do so. According to the laws of our dynasty, anyone who digs up a grave and sees the coffin shall be punished with 100 strokes of the cane and exiled 3,000 li. Those who have seen the coffin and the corpse shall be hanged. Those who dig but do not reach the coffin shall be punished with 100 strokes of the cane and exiled for 3 years. A clear male voice came from beside me. When I turned around, I met Xiao Juanhui's deep, profound eyes. He is quite familiar with the laws of our dynasty, but why was he staring at me while reciting them? Miss Lu did not reach the coffin when digging the grave tonight. According to the law, she should be punished with 100 lashes and 3 years of exile. Although Miss Lu is the daughter of the Marquis of Dingyuan, I believe the county magistrate will uphold the law impartially, right? Xiao Juanhui cupped his hands toward the county magistrate standing nearby. Although it was late, many onlookers had gathered, and the entrance to the county office was completely blocked. The county magistrate, looking at the crowd outside, had no choice but to say with forced courage, "Of course. I have never shown favoritism or bent the law in my cases. Guards, take Miss Lu away and give her 100 lashes, then take him to the prison as a warning to others." Upon hearing that she was to be imprisoned, Lu Jinling's face turned pale. She broke free from the restraints of the bailiffs and angrily said, "How dare you send me to prison? Do you even know who I am? I am the eldest daughter of the Yongding Marquis Manor, of noble status. How dare you, a mere minor official, presume to convict me? If you know what's good for you, release me at once, and I'll let bygones be bygones, otherwise, I'll make sure you regret it." Lu Jinling's words sparked a flurry of discussion among the commoners outside the door. What's so special about the daughter of the Yongding Marquis Manor? Can a noble lady from the Marquis's household disregard the law and knowingly break it? Your Honor, if you truly let her go today, we will not accept it. That's right. We will not accept it. Standing to the side, watching Lu Jinling's foolishness easily stir up public anger, I almost felt like applauding her on the spot. This person probably doesn't understand the principle that the bird that sticks its head out gets shot. If she had obediently been taken away, perhaps the county magistrate could have secretly let her go, but she had to make a big scene in front of everyone. If I didn't put her in her place, I'd be letting down the hole she dug for herself. So, I chimed in from the side. The law applies equally to the emperor and the common people. I trust your honor will not disappoint us common folk. The county magistrate's face turned extremely ugly, his eyes practically wishing they could cut down Lu Jinling. That fool, at his command, he directly ordered the bailiffs to take Lu Jinling away. This official will certainly enforce the law impartially. Please rest assured, fellow villagers. This official will now draft a memorial to report to His Majesty, requesting a severe punishment for those who show contempt for the royal law. Lu Jinling was thrown into prison. Awaiting further judgment, I felt refreshed in both body and mind as I headed home with Xiao Lian. Just as I stepped out of the county government gate, I saw Xiao Juanhui leaning against the stone lion, waiting for me, bright as the moon, graceful and charming. He truly captured my heart. Are you all right? Xiao Juanhui's voice was somewhat hoarse, faintly tinged with a hint of restraint. When he looked at someone, he did so with great earnestness, his eyes and brows filled with tenderness. As if trying to see through my thoughts by gazing into my eyes, I looked at his thin, plain blue robe and sighed. Where is the warm clothing I gave you? Why aren't you wearing it? Xiao Juanhui's body trembled at my words, and it was a long while before he slowly spoke. I went to sweep the graves, afraid of getting dirty. I watched him quietly, thinking to myself, he really is so handsome, before marrying into the Marquis's household. Xiao Juanhui and I had been deeply in love and had privately pledged our lives to each other. I once had my heart set on breaking off the engagement with the Lu family so I could be with him forever, but my father looked down on him and forbade me from seeing him. A few days before the wedding, to prevent me from running away, my father locked me in my room. It was snowing heavily at the time, and knowing that Xiao Juanhui didn't have a warm cotton-padded coat, I secretly sent one to him through Xiaolian. Along with it, I also had Xiaolian deliver a farewell letter I had written to him. Father threatened me, saying that the marriage was bestowed by the emperor. If I refused, not only would Xiao Juanhui be in trouble, but our Ministry of Personnel would also be unable to escape. I had no choice but to tell him in the letter to forget about me and find a good girl to spend his life with. In my previous life, after I married into the Marquis's household, I was busy taking care of the entire family, living a life of hardship myself, so naturally, I had no time to reminisce about everything with Xiao Juanhui. As a married woman, I knew I no longer had the right to miss him, but it wasn't until after my death, when my soul lingered in the air for a long time, that I discovered the young man who had secretly pledged his life to me had never married. On the day of my funeral, he kicked open the door of the Marquis's mansion, picked up my memorial tablet, and said to me, "Yeah, let's go home." Seeing him again still makes my heart flutter, but in this lifetime, I won't let him go again. I want to cherish him properly. Xiao Juanhui, I will soon be divorced. After I'm divorced, can I come find you? I looked at him earnestly and asked solemnly, but as soon as I finished speaking, Xiao Lian quickly reached out to cover my mouth. My dear aunt, such words must not be known by others, or you'll be drowned in a pig cage. Xiao Juanhui stood frozen in place. I met his gaze and saw the joy in his eyes. After a long moment, he nodded heavily toward me, his voice tinged with delight. I'll wait for you. Xiao Lian was so frightened that her face turned pale, and she hurriedly pulled me away. Hurry, hurry, if we get caught, it'll be a big problem. The news of Lu Jinling digging up graves spread throughout the capital, making her the laughingstock of the entire noble women's circle. She was given 100 lashes, nearly crippling her. He was then sentenced to 3 years in prison and was directly thrown into the jail by the bailiffs. Mother-in-law Chen was so anxious that she ran around in circles, seeking help from various connections, but no one dared to assist her. Xiao Juanhui's deceased uncle happened to be an old general, and when the news spread, it shocked both the court and the public. The emperor severely punished her as a warning to others. Seeing that no one was willing to help her, Mrs. Chen took out all her anger on me. She directly brought her servants to smash up my courtyard, pointing at me and cursing, "You jinx, not only did you harm my son, but you also harmed my daughter. Heaven is truly blind, why didn't it let a scourge like you die?" I watched her trembling with anger, genuinely worried she might suddenly have a heart attack, and kindly reminded her, "In that case, would you sign this divorce agreement on behalf of your son? If you don't sign it, perhaps the next person to be harmed will be you, mother-in-law." Chen stared at the divorce agreement in my hand and suddenly laughed. "Do you want me to give you a divorce letter so you can fly away with someone else? You were bought by our Lu family with silver. In life, you are a member of the Lu family. In death, you are a ghost of the Lu family. As long as I am your mother-in-law for a day, you must show me the utmost respect. I will never let you have your way. You want me to sign the divorce papers? Dream on. My gaze instantly turned cold. In that case, we can only make each other sick. Some people just won't give up until they see the coffin. The room was smashed by the people Chen brought, and I had nowhere to stay, so I simply packed a few clothes and planned to take Xiao Lian back to my parents' home. But before I could even step out of the Lu family's gate, I was surrounded by Chen's people. Ji Nani, I am your mother-in-law. Without my order, you are not allowed to go anywhere. First, I was tied up and thrown into the courtyard, forced to listen to Madame Chen's endless scolding for over half an hour, and then she locked me in the woodshed. Xiao Lian, standing nearby, was so angry that she kept wiping away her tears. Miss, what should we do now? I just heard from the people outside that the old lady plans to cut off our food supplies. She's trying to starve us to death. I calmly sat in the firewood shed, counting the days on my fingers. Xiao Lian, is tomorrow the Lantern Festival? Xiao Lian was so anxious she was almost in tears. Miss, how can you still be thinking about counting days? Tomorrow is indeed the Lantern Festival. But we won't have any food to eat tonight. I stood up and patted Xiao Lian on the shoulder. Don't worry, we'll be able to get out tomorrow, on the Lantern Festival day in the previous life. The Emperor suddenly made an incognito visit. While passing through the streets, he saw the chastity archway in front of the Lu family's gate. The old Marquis of Dingyuan was once the god of war of this dynasty, but later died in battle. The Chen family guarded the Marquis of Dingyuan's estate, working hard to raise several children, so the Emperor specially granted them a chastity archway. Upon seeing that archway, the Emperor recalled the old Marquis of that year and decided to stay at the Marquis of Dingyuan's estate. I am the daughter of a minister and was granted widowhood by the Emperor, so naturally, I must see His Majesty. Sure enough, at noon the next day, the door of the firewood shed was pushed open by Granny Chu. She glanced at me and said disdainfully, His Majesty is staying at the Marquis's residence and has specifically asked to see you. You should know what to say and what not to say, right? Young mistress, you are the daughter-in-law of the Lu family. When one prospers, all prosper, and when one suffers, all suffer. If you still want to live a peaceful life in the future, behave yourself. I rolled my eyes at the words. She's just a dowry made from the Chen family, acting all high and mighty over nothing. What bad luck. I was pushed into the room by Aunt Chu and let the servants dress me up. By the time I appeared in the main hall of the Marquis's residence, Lady Chen was chatting with the Emperor. I silently knelt, paid my respects, and as I stood up, I suddenly stumbled and fell directly toward the Emperor's feet. I deserve death. I deserve death. I frantically adjusted my clothes, deliberately revealing the red marks left by the rope on my wrists. The Emperor had sharp eyes and immediately noticed, asking, Lu Jisha, what happened to your wrists? Chen's face changed drastically, and she quickly stepped forward to pull me aside. Explaining to the Emperor, my daughter-in-law accidentally fell and got injured, making your Majesty laugh. I will have someone take her down to apply medicine right away. She really knows how to exaggerate. How could a fall possibly leave me in this state? Chen didn't even bother to think before lying. I believe the Emperor is not so easily fooled. I directly confronted the situation, knocking my head on the ground with a resounding thud. Your Majesty, I beseech your Majesty to uphold justice for your humble subject. The injuries I sustained were inflicted by my mother-in-law, Lady Chen. It is because I discovered the evidence of the Lu family's treason. As soon as I uttered these words, everyone present was utterly horrified. The Emperor's expression suddenly darkened. Lu Jisha, the Lu family has been loyal and valiant for generations. Old Marquis Lu and the eldest son of the Lu family both died fighting for the country. Do not speak recklessly and falsely accuse the loyal and righteous. I looked at Madame Chen and sneered. Old Marquis Lu was indeed a rare loyal and righteous man, but my husband, the eldest son of the Lu family, may not be. Today, I, your subject's wife, wish to expose my husband. Lu Jinan, who died on the battlefield. He did not actually die that day. Instead, he deserted his post at the border. He is now with Princess Qinglan of the enemy country, living right in the capital. Lu Jinan faked his death and betrayed the nation, showing neither loyalty nor filial piety. The Lu family deceived me into remaining a widow, acting with neither benevolence nor righteousness. I beseech your majesty to investigate thoroughly, annul my marriage to Lu Jinan, and grant me my freedom. Punish the traitor Lu Jinan severely. I said this with absolute certainty, banging my head until it bled. Although the emperor was shocked and suspicious, he dared not be lenient and immediately sent people to investigate the address I mentioned. They happened to witness Lu Jinan and Princess Qinglan in an intimate scene, and both were escorted back. The well-dressed, handsome man was none other than my supposedly deceased husband, Lu Jinan. Behind him followed Princess Qinglan, looking utterly bewildered. Her eyes were brimming with tears, her hair disheveled, clearly showing signs of struggle. Why have you detained my husband? How dare you? Princess Qinglan tugged at Lu Jinan's sleeve, looking down her nose at the imperial guards with an air of arrogance. But the imperial guard didn't buy her act. We are under imperial orders to arrest the state's wanted criminal. If Princess Qinglan wishes to join him in prison, we wouldn't mind taking Her Highness along as well. Those words instantly caused Qinglan's expression to change. She turned back to look at Lu Jinan. Husband, don't panic, I will find a way to save you. Lu Jinan nodded excitedly. Is it really the young master? Xiao Lian originally didn't believe that Lu Jinan was still alive, but when she saw with her own eyes that Lu Jinan was escorted out by the imperial guards, she almost jumped up. The Lu family is too much. The young master is clearly not dead, yet they joined forces to deceive us. Simply a beast. Xiao Lian's words were overheard by Lu Jinan. We had met once before our marriage, and he clearly still remembered me. Seeing me standing among the crowd, his expression changed, and he struggled to rush toward me. Was it you who told on me, right, Jinani, you poisonous woman? I sneered coldly, ignoring him, and turned to look at Princess Qinglan standing in the distance. Your Highness, did you know that Lu Jinan has a wife in the capital? This can't be. Lu Jinan indeed didn't tell the truth on either side. Princess Qinglan didn't believe what I said, tugging at Lu Jinan's collar, wanting an explanation. Didn't you say you were innocent and only loved me? How could you have a wife? Won't you say something? Xiao Lian couldn't hold back any longer and started grumbling. Your Highness must have been deceived. Everyone in the capital knows that he was the young lord of the Dingyuan Marquis's household, who died in battle. After his death, the Lu family insisted on marrying my young lady into their family, forcing her to become a widow. The house you live in was even bought with money earned by my young lady. After that, it was a tug-of-war between Princess Qinglan and Lu Jinan, which I had no interest in. I returned to the Marquis's residence early. Lu Jinan is the eldest son of the Marquis of Dingyuan's household. Who doesn't know him? Desertion and feigning death is a crime of deceiving the emperor. The Lu family was soon raided, stripped of their noble titles, and the entire family was exiled to military service. Lu Jinan was even sentenced to beheading as a warning to others, bringing shame upon their ancestors. I got my wish and cancelled my engagement to Lu Jinan, regaining my freedom. On the day I left the Lu family, I ran into Xiao Juanhui at the entrance of the alley. He was wearing the cotton-padded jacket I had given him, holding a rabbit-shaped lantern in his hand. Under the bright moonlight, he looked untouched by worldly dust. He looked at me, his eyes filled with heartache. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you take on this risk alone? I smiled and took his hand. Let's not bring up the past anymore. Everything will be fine from now on. Do you believe in me? Xiao Juanhui originally wanted to ask something, but upon hearing my words, he nodded. I believe you. I gently touched his face. Good, then wait for me a little longer. I asked Xiao Juanhui to wait for me, not because I had any lingering attachment to the Lu family, but to take stock of my dowry and assets. Over the years, the Lu family has eaten, drunk, and used what was mine. Since the marriage is no longer valid, I naturally want all that money back. Even if the Lu family is raided and liquidated, what they owe me cannot be a penny less. This marriage was originally bestowed by the emperor, and now that things have turned out this way, he feels somewhat embarrassed. He actually compensated me from the confiscated assets of the Lu family. When the assets weren't enough, he used the Marquis's mansion to settle the debt. Although I disliked that house, it was better than losing everything, so I agreed to this arrangement. On the day Lu Jinan was beheaded and the Lu family was exiled to serve in the military, I, as his ex-wife, personally went to see him off. Lu Jinan, may you have a smooth journey to the underworld. Here, have a cup of farewell wine. Madame Chen stood nearby, cursing me with every vile word she could muster. Ji Nani, you venomous woman, may you die a miserable death. I laughed and said, the one who colluded with the enemy, betrayed the country, and was executed after his family was raided. That seems to be your son. If we're talking about a miserable death, it's him who truly deserves it. In a little while, your whole family will be on their way, so I won't see you off. Then, taking little Lotus, she happily walked away. I still have to go find my Xiao Juanhui, the future top scholar. As night fell, I carried my small bundle and arrived at Xiao Juanhui's little courtyard in the outskirts of the city. Although the courtyard was dilapidated, it was kept neat and tidy. Xiao Juanhui was clearly taken aback when he saw me, then quickly pulled me into the house. With the Lu family raided, you must have nowhere to go. Don't worry, it's safe here for now, you can stay without any concerns. Oh, so Xiao Juanhui thought I hadn't divorced Lu Jinan and would be implicated. He assumed I was here to evade the pursuit of the authorities. I held back my laughter and suddenly felt like teasing him. You know I'm a fugitive now. If I stay here and the officials find out, your career will be ruined. Xiao Juanhui fell silent for a moment, then stood up and walked into the simple bedroom, bringing out a wooden box. Inside the wooden box were all his possessions, a few silver ingots and several strings of copper coins. If the official career is gone, then it's gone. Which is more important, the official career or human life? I don't have much money, only this. Take it and use it first. Xiao Lian glanced at Xiao Juanhui, then at me, and very consciously rolled out the door to enjoy the night breeze. I slapped the banknotes in my arms onto the table and chuckled. As agreed, I have divorced. Xiao Juanhui, I have money, you have looks. If it doesn't work out, why not just make do? Would you mind that I'm a divorced woman? It's unclear which remark made Xiao Juanhui feel embarrassed. But his cheeks actually flushed red. Without a formal wedding ceremony, how can one be called a divorced woman? Yeah, you've suffered. The autumn imperial examination is coming soon. Believe me, I will work hard. Once I pass with honors, I will marry you properly with a grand procession. I smiled. Then tonight, his face flushed even more deeply. Tonight, you should go back first. I have neither fame nor fortune, and I cannot let you suffer. What an honest fool. But I respect his thoughts. Who wouldn't love a man who strives to improve himself? I insisted on leaving that box of banknotes behind before returning to the Ji family. Half a year passed in the blink of an eye, and the day for the capital's exam results to be announced soon arrived. That day, I was curled up in the courtyard, cracking sunflower seeds, while Xiaolian was hopping with anxiety. Miss, everyone has gone to check the results. How can you still sit here so calmly? I wonder if young Master Xiao passed or not. I shrugged my shoulders and continued cracking sunflower seeds. I passed the imperial examination, and I'm the top scholar. Xiao Lian looked at me with a skeptical expression, clearly not believing it. I heard this year's exam questions were extremely difficult, personally set by the emperor. Miss, it's good to have confidence. But what if young Master Xiao Lian was about to chatter on when a voice from outside announced, the new top scholar, Xiao Juanhui, has come to pay a visit. I lifted the hem of my skirt and ran toward the front courtyard. The weather was clear and sunny after the rain, and my top scholar stood under the tree, dressed in a red robe, with the south wind entering your embrace. Nanyi, Juanhui has come to marry you. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.